Hi traders, welcome to Admiral Markets. My name is Chris. So today's topic is going to be about decision zones, how to tackle them, how to trade them, and we'll be focusing specifically on Japanese candlesticks and trend lines for that purpose. Before we kick off today's webinar though, uh, these slides, first one about the Christmas special that's coming up here with Admiral Markets. Check it out on the website and see the full details on the promotion web page. All right. So that's going to be interesting. Second of all, the risk disclaimer noting the fact that trading for exchange and global financial markets in general is considered high risk. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. By continuing watching this webinar, you agree with the disclaimer and you are aware of the risk involved when trading. Please visit admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country or residence, and contact the appropriate entity to find out if this webinar is suitable for you. Alrighty, so let's kick off by taking a quick look at the website. Maybe you're new in here and joining our webinar with Admiral Markets for the first or second time, perhaps. Then you might want to check out admiralmarkets.com. You can see here that Christmas special that I was talking about. So you just have to click on Apply Now, this red button, and that'll lead you to more information. On this front page banner, you'll see more info about, for instance, Admiral Markets 55, all the newest updates, basically, new webinars that are coming up, the Supreme Edition, which is extra plugin. So, all the info, all the most key info you have right here. There are tabs up in here. By the way, for more info about Admiral Markets, first of all, how to trade, what kind of instruments you can trade, what kind of platform you can use for trading, and of course also Nanette and I are working hard on analytics and education with Admiral Markets, so you can find more info there. So it's quite a lot of stuff to go through, but definitely worth your time. Definitely recommend it. Let's kick off very quickly to take a look at the market heat map, and then we'll take a look at the charts, what the charts are showing. So you can see some of the top movers, some of the the bearish instruments basically. And if you scroll lower, you'll see some graphs like this. I think this one is always interesting to show kind of what instruments do have a lot of volatility and direction. Basically, volatility is on the right, the more volatility, less volatility on the left. And then plus 1% is uptrend, of course, minus 1% is downtrend. So just to get an idea, New Zealand CAD, a big one. New Zealand, more or less the winner, as you can see, 3 New Zealands in the close to the 1%. Downside, more the yen pairs, and pound New Zealand and euro New Zealand here all the way at the right. All right. Regarding ranges, pound typically first, indeed New Zealand was quite a big one. All right, Swiss C low. Okay, just to get a feeling for that. And yeah, we can keep that in mind as we take a look at the charts. I just like this particular, just gives a kind of idea about the sentiment, which pairs, not only which currencies, but not only which currency pairs, sorry, but which currencies might be specifically interesting to trade, right? And maybe yen, maybe New Zealand seem to be the ones with the most momentum, at least. So we can keep that in mind as we go along. More importantly, though, is to take a look. In our view, Nanette and I, we like technical analysis. So we're going to grab a chart, take a look at some price action, take a look at some candlestick patterns and trend lines, as I just mentioned. So basically, the main theme of the November webinars that we've had was to take a look at how to trade break and bounce setups. And I'm a particular strong fan of using candlestick patterns, trend lines, and fractals too, in some cases, and generally patterns really. But trend lines kind of show those patterns. So it's more like what candlestick patterns. For instance, let me give you right away an example then with regard to those candlestick patterns. Like here, for instance, a bounce at support, right? That could be an interest. The candlestick pattern kind of confirms the bounce setup. and this candlestick pattern or candlestick and just candlestick by itself kind of confirms the potential breakout. We talked about this in the past. So those are candlestick examples. How can candlesticks help with bounce and breakouts? Trend lines, here you can see basically showing the channel, right? So if price breaks above that, then it could be ending this bearish correction. There is bullish momentum. So, this could be considered maybe a bull flag, for instance. So you have trend lines showing the patterns, basically. So they go together. And then I sometimes use fractals too. Fractals is not something we talk regularly about. It's something that is more specific, but I like to use myself. And sometimes I even use it for entries when price breaks, for instance, above a resistance fractal like this. That, in this case, is the entry I used for the euro dollar. Entry above this fractal for the long setup, right? So I like these particular patterns, trend lines, fractals, and candlestick patterns. So we'll be using these tools. Just a quick intro. Now, with regard to the euro dollar, I think that basically at this moment, price was close to the 120 target when it went to about 1960. Yes, 61 maybe. And I think that could be the end of the upside, and we might see a retracement lower. Now, a critical zone from my perspective is going to be this range on the left, which is equal to the weekly pivot point, the long-term moving average, and the bottom of this Keltner indicator. So from this perspective, it's a key zone, because at this moment, although there is divergence pattern between these tops, it is only a single divergence. And hence, I think that price could still bounce at this support zone for one more push up to get to that 120. It's also looking pretty corrective for the moment. So I do think that this could be a bounce zone, and this could still be a breakout resistance trend line. That said, I don't think that the euro dollar is as interesting as it was when price was here, or maybe even here when it was making this bull flag, because of the fact that price has more or less completed, a big part of its upside. When price was at 117, I was talking about that 120 target, right? So there was a lot of space, 300 pips to that level. And now price has already reached that level within 40 pips, right? And therefore a bit less interesting in the sense that it could still be a breakout to 120, but from my point of view, the probability of the setup is just not as interesting, is not the same, not as good as it was here. It is here. It seems like a high probability setup in my eyes. Here, it could be okay. It could be, though, a very choppy one. It could be one that maybe shows a bit of head and shoulders pattern even. So it just doesn't have the same kind of perspective, I think, because of the fact that price is getting into a zone where we have to consider very strongly how price will react to this resistance zone. And if it breaks below the weekly pivot point, it might already make some downside here. And then I do expect, though, for price to bounce back up. One of those levels that could be a strong support level is this support level, and there could be a potential inverted head and shoulders here, right? So we could see this breakout and then the bounce at this level. We can also put a fib if price makes this downside break from here to here, and look for fibs and the S2, for instance, to provide support as well. The 61, 78.6 fib could be bouncing spots for upside. So I'll be looking for some long-term potential trades here from this support level. So I myself, my mind is slowly but surely shifting to bearish, even though I was definitely bullish with this upside. And it's all has to do with the fact that price is, so close to that 120. It would have been better if it hit 120, but that can happen sometimes. It might still hit 120. It's just that particular setup is not that interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if price bounces here and then shows some bearish break. What I would like to see before trading it though is basically for price to hit the zone, make maybe some sideways move during tomorrow's Asian session, and then maybe tomorrow making a break or making a pop and then a false break and then down again, something like that. That could happen. It's as soon as it basically breaks here, I would be thinking about shorts. What I would probably do is look at lower time frames, hour, 50-minute chart, look for the break, look for a flag on a lower time frame, and look for a continuation lower like this. But I'm going to have to see a break below this trend line and this weekly pivot point, plus this zone, basically, this support zone. I don't expect that to happen in the next couple of hours. I do think it could happen tomorrow morning, for instance. So I personally don't see a trade for myself on a euro dollar right now. It's not always something that needs to be ready right now. It's sometimes good to wait, to plan, and let the trade kind of develop, wait for some confirmation, and then as you get it, think about trade setups. So especially if it's in a gray kind of zone like this, I consider your dollar a bit in a gray zone at this moment. So I think some additional breakout is good. Basically looking for the bearish breakout, to put it simply, here. All right, so time will tell if we get that. All right, pound dollar has been moving lower. Let's see. Move down some pips after breaking this weekly pivot point already. And looking like a breakout. I personally didn't trade this bearish breakout myself. I just didn't like the pound overall for a while now. And just was a bit hesitant with trading the pound. But I do think that basically, if we get a good bearish candle like this at the end of today, that a retracement, continuation lower makes sense. All right. So I think that's what I would wait for the moment. In the morning, I was thinking about maybe if you saw my wave analysis, you saw that I had A, B here. I made the analysis here. And see, that did indeed occur. So if you saw my wave analysis this morning, you were maybe prepared for the ABC. I know that some traders were probably trading longs here. It does make sense because price was at support. It's just I didn't see much upside target due to the head and shoulders potential and the ABC correction, which is why I skipped the longs. I didn't take reversal trades myself. As I said, I just wasn't a big fan of the pound in general. But the wave analysis maybe helps you in some way to either avoid a trade to the upside or maybe even take a reversal trade when you see a wick like this. Maybe, I don't know. But that was my analysis this morning. As I said, I didn't trade the pound for a while now because of I did trade some pound crosses last week, but not the pound dollar personally. I was a bit scared of a false break here with the pound, and it looks like it is a bit of a false break at the moment. I might think about trading if this bearish candle prints today, and would consider it then maybe a bounce at the resistance zone, a late one, but still. Maybe a retracement to the weekly pivot point, and there could be a fall down to the S1, S2. All right. Dollar yen. Don't see anything at this moment with the dollar yen. I was actually short. My trade just got exited for about half a loss, plus minus. I was expecting a continuation. It was a break below the 50 fib, but these breaks, even if it breaks a little bit, sometimes a bit difficult because, generally speaking, still at that 50 fib in a way. So getting a bit of a bounce at the 50 fib, a little bit below it, but those fibs are not to the pip either. So it looks like we can get maybe a bigger correction, but I would be a bit hesitant with trading that bounce as yet, personally, considering the downtrend at this moment. So I'll skip it for the moment and take a look at what else is going on. So far this week, a bit struggling with finding some trade setups that I like. There have been some great trades last in October and November, but I don't know. This week, just nothing seems to catch my eye at this moment. To put it straightforward, basically, it's just doesn't seem that appealing. Everything is a little bit like retracing. I don't know. It doesn't seem like something that says like, oh, that looks like a high probability setup to me. Every setup I'm analyzing is like, maybe it seems like, like nothing that spectacular to me. So I'm still at this moment on the sidelines. At this moment, I had a dollar CAD, a dollar yen, a euro, New Zealand. Those have all closed basically this week. And otherwise, I don't have anything at this moment. So let's see if we can find something that could be interesting. I was looking at this Aussie downside, but one of the things that also this Aussie downside, it could be okay break, but it just right at the support trend line. 5 waves could be completed here with a sturdy pullback. It could be one of those where you get an ABC correction like this, basically. Hence a little bit, yeah. How do you say it? A little bit of hesitance with this breakout due to the 5-wave structure that we see here. This could be easily an A, this could be a B, and up we go for a C, and there could be an ABC zigzag. So, this breakout, therefore, not that interesting for me at this moment, at least. Kiwi, also making a 5-wave structure. This could be a little bit more interesting. It is at a target, actually. All in all, again, quite a mixture. You have a downtrend on the daily chart, you have an uptrend on the 4-hour chart, but you're at resistance here. It just a lot of mixed pictures. So let's see if there's something better. Price is bouncing at the minus 272 target, trying to break below the R1. You can see double top on the 1-hour chart. It might be something to consider. A reversal trade in some ways, right, as it maybe breaks below this local support for perhaps a breakout trade to the downside. I don't know. It's something to consider maybe later on. Let me see if there's something better though. Dollar CAD moving up. Let me just flip through some of these charts together here. Euro yen, massive range, right in the middle. Not my most appealing kind of structure to see. Pound yen also at support and in the channel. Very choppy price action. I mean, not that the choppy price action is something that disqualifies it necessarily. In fact, if you see something like that, it could be good to analyze it a bit better even and see if there's some some interesting bounce or break setup that could make sense. Definitely, but it is also considering the pound dollar breakout to the downside, but the dollar yen bouncing to the upside. That is another factor that could extend this kind of choppiness. Don't see anything at this moment, at least. Euro odd. Kind of struggling here at this moment. Here in New Zealand, could be a bounce. Of course, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candle. So the bounce, I don't think we'll go too far. Don't forget that we have double top. We have substantial price action already going sideways like this. So any bounce, I think, could be quite limited and might just find resistance and move lower again like this, extending kind of this correction lower. Yet, of course, price is at a bouncing spot here like this. So there could be a bounce, right? And if anything, that might probably make a little bit more sense than shorting right into support, obviously. So yeah, another idea that could be worth to keep an eye on. Let me see if there's something better, basically. Um, Pound odd going sideways too. I don't know. Pound odd looks more bearish even than the euro odd in a way, but it is above support still. It there could be a breakout here. This kind of correction like that could occur. Not Pound New Zealand was a nice reversal. It is one I traded a little bit on the early side. I was trading it here and took a small loss on that one. This particular one didn't re-enter on this breakout though, which is a pity because then we finally did get that reverse I was looking for originally. And it all started, I think it started here when we started first looking at potential reversals in this live webinar at least. And we finally got it. Took some time though, as you can see. Now, if anything, let me get rid of these trend lines. We broke those already. If anything, it is getting at a potential bouncing spot, right? The bottom of this channel, bounce or break spot basically, but leaning towards a small bounce at least, and then maybe a breakout later on. So they're all at kind of like spots where you could get a bounce, but it is retracing deeper and all kind of these kind of elements. So it's not particular setups that I'm really enthusiastic about from this perspective. EuroCAD, let's take a look. There we go. There's the EuroCAD. All right, flipping through some of these charts. These are some big resistance levels close by. All right. We do have higher lows, though, and it looks like an ascending wedge. Trying to get a bit of perspective from the long term. All in all, I think it just is at a pretty hefty resistance zone. Will it bounce? Not so sure. It is approaching it now, well, basically for the first time, but you could maybe count this one too. It was close. And if it is the first time, that typically you do get some bounce. Looking a little bit like a rising wedge here as well. I'm not saying it couldn't break out, but a bounce could occur first. There could be divergence maybe between these tops. Sorry, that was by accident. Let me add a different template. Yeah, divergence between these 4-hour tops. So I think probably looking for, at this moment, a bounce makes more sense. I'm not saying that this will fly down 1,000 pips, but there could be a bit of bounce. I think a daily candle at this resistance zone might get a little bit of retracement back to support, and that support could be, well, maybe not that deep. This trend line may be too ambitious, but could bring it back to, let's see, maybe this support zone in here for the moment. Right? Could be an ABC correction down to support, and then get another attempt of that resistance. Might be best to wait for the reaction, let it go up a little bit, wait for a reaction, see if there's momentum, see if there's a hook back, and trying to trade the C wave here. Let's see. So yeah, that's some of the Forex pairs in the meantime, though. Angel's here, so Angel, he's looking forward to look at gold. Let's do that right now. Alrighty, it is in a channel and hasn't broke above this channel as yet. It bounced at the bottom of the channel a few times, most recently here, and bounced again at resistance of this channel as well. I personally wouldn't be surprised if there's a breakout finally, eventually to the upside that could go a little bit with more momentum than we've seen here. That has been very choppy, and that price just makes kind of a shoot up to one of these fibs, and then starts to turn back down. That's my main scenario. I think that there could be some ways for trading it. One could be actually trying to trade along before the breakout. Here it's a bit risky. It's in the middle of this channel. Was in the middle of the channel. Other one could be maybe a daily candle breakout above resistance, hook back of the daily candle, and continuation to R3-ish. Still in that overall the same structure in the sense that I think that this could be an A correction. This is a B, and down it can go for C, back to test the support, and then up it can go again. That is basically my main kind of analysis. I would hope that it makes this last dash to complete this correction and I'll be looking to buy myself in this zone or close to this zone for a long-term target to the upside. That's my plan at the moment. I don't know for sure. Obviously, price will get here. I from a trading perspective, I hope it does. So that's still my view on gold for the moment. This channel, in a way, supports the fact that this is looking corrective, that this is bearish momentum, and that this will follow. It does, fit in that picture, fit in that sequence of what I would be expecting. So let's see. That's gold. Let's see if there are any other instruments. I mean, is there anything, by the way, that you would like to take a look at? Anything that you find interesting as a setup? Because I myself, not yet really. Not in today's market. Yesterday just doesn't really seem that. I mean, some bounce trades. I'm not a big bounce trader. Maybe that's why I like breakouts with the trend. And at this moment, it seems a little bit rangy and retracement like. But maybe you see something that is interesting. Let me know. All right. Otherwise, in the meantime, quick look on some other instruments, maybe oil. I still think that this broke through this resistance zone, but all in all, I think it's definitely still in a resistance zone. DAX looks like it's in a correction here. I think a bullish break could be interesting. Bearish break and price might make a zigzag down to the Fibonacci targets, like minus 272 target, minus 61.8 target. Nothing new on silver. Dow Jones, yet again heading on its way to a higher high. Nasdaq, well, same thing actually, isn't it? So personally, I don't see anything to trade on the Nasdaq. I mean, it could be good just to put a fib maybe on this bullish candle. It's a bullish candle within strong momentum, and that momentum has lasted for a very long time. So could there be a retracement of that candle and continuation? And not a strange idea necessarily. So yes, that could make sense. So taking a look at the 50 fib 38 could be bounce spot if price gets there. And with regard to that's stock indices, with regard to CFDs, I know that some traders have been asking to take a look at more CFDs, so I gladly do that. I tried that to look at some at least. And we were looking at Facebook, Google and Facebook last few weeks, I guess. And I think last week too, and the week before that, we had a little bit of a breakout here and no pullback, just a continuation for the moment. I guess from a technical point of view, pretty good momentum. So if there's some smaller bull flag here, continuation higher does seem likely in that case. Facebook, got a continuation here. Triangle break, flag break here. Looks a little bit slower than Google's from a price action point of view, to me. Pretty substantial breakout here on Amazon last month. Good momentum. That also looks pretty strong. Maybe a retracement. Let me see which fib could make sense. Could be a wave 4-2 if from here probably. Probably these retracements could be support levels for one more push up. Thank you, Angel. No problem. And hope to see you tomorrow. Good trading in the meantime. Hopefully, it'll be a bit more with regard to the Forex market at least soon. Nasdaq, New Zealand CAD indeed had some upside. I was, I was considering trading it. A friend of mine was trading it actually, so I also thought about it. Ultimately, skipped it. I don't know. It's a bit slow mover. But look at this. Sometimes even these slow movers. Look at that big upside on the New Zealand CAD at this moment. There was a lot of divergence between these bottoms, so I can see why my friend was interested in trading it. Also a little bit of a falling wedge. So yeah, that was good trade from him. Besides that, pound CAD, I think ultimately maybe pound CAD still looking like it could be a correction. It's just kind of slowing to the upside, becoming a little bit more like a rising wedge at this moment. So yeah, hit the 78.6 fib. Might finally make some correction here on the pound CAD. I'm looking for that breakout though on the pound CAD. But all of it is either it's just moving as we speak, just doesn't seem to be in a very good position. Yeah, so well, those things can happen, Better not to force it. I know from experience that sometimes these days happen. Sometimes just don't necessarily have particular setups in mind that seem like a high probability. Doesn't hurt to be a bit cautious. Wait for a little bit more info. Wait for a little bit more candles. Try to do a little bit more analysis. See if there's anything that changes. Maybe some patterns change or something like that. Still better to wait for the trades to come to you in a way rather than chasing the trades. I don't know. Once you start to chase them, it just typically doesn't really work as well in my experience at least. So I think I'll just for the moment keep an eye on these pairs tomorrow morning again. See if there's any particular structure that I find interesting. I just at this moment maybe the New Zealand break to the downside here, looking for a little bit of pullback and continuation could be interesting. Otherwise, probably just will wait for more info, I think, tomorrow morning. All right. No questions, so I will not hold you up any longer than this. Just check out, if you like, of course, admiralmarkets.com for info about Admiral Markets, info about starting to trade, which instruments, which platforms and plugins. The MetaTrader 4 Supreme Edition is an extra plugin with 60 plus features from Admiral Markets, and your daily analysis and more education besides webinars. All right, so take a look at that and see you in new webinars hopefully soon. Nennet and myself both have webinars tomorrow. So hope to see you there. All right. Talk to you soon. Cheers.